pretty often. So they're really, really evenly matched. Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of favoritism towards HeroMarine. I think his results speak for himself as well. Like, he has done a little bit better historically than Lambo. But here we are, and map 1 is going to be Moondance. And on the bottom right-hand side, playing for Mouse Sports for something like a million years, it's HeroMarine.
And up here in the top left-hand side of the map, we have our blue Zerg player from Shopify Rebellion. He is Lambo. Lambo, I know he's been tweeting a little bit about how he's a bit frustrated. I think he said that he was a bit under the weather this past week, and it's been, I have to say, super impressive. He's still been playing really well. He's still sitting in second place in his group and everything. But I know that he has been combating sort of just literally being physically sick during all of this. So I'm hoping that he's feeling his best today, because he's definitely going to need to bring his best against someone like HeroMarine.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, I don't know if this is his best, but it's what he's chosen to do. It's going to be a gas pool first, actually, before the hatchery here. So maybe having a read into what HeroMarine likes to do. And for now, it's been the correct read. HeroMarine hasn't scouted. Very likely this SCV will go to the bottom and just be rallied back to make a CC. So we are on the lookout for another SCV to leave HeroMarine's base soon. Because if it doesn't, it is extremely likely the Reaper leaves first. And then Lambo, with the 2 Zerglings that he's making, is going to be able to delay the CC. And furthermore, he should be starting speed in a second here, which should make it so that he has a follow-up as well to cancel the CC and try to end the game early. So this is a read from Lambo. I am certain he has studied his opponent, yeah, and his patterns on this map from prior matches and seen, okay, you don't SCV scout, I'm gonna punish that.
And so far, exactly what you were saying, Lambo is getting the better end of things. No SCV was sent out. The Reaper moves across the map as the Lings head over to the other side. And Lambo is getting his way so far. The Reaper's now going to pop forward, see the hatchery being a little bit delayed.
And
this
not moving.
Yeah.
The Lings were not moving for a good 2 or 3 seconds.
Back.
And they're actually, yeah, that's very strange. I am not sure I understand. Now he's going back out. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. I have to say, Lambo knows, of course, what he's doing. So this has to have a good reason for it. Yeah.
I'm not sure if he saw. At first, I thought maybe he had like a mishotkey situation or something, where maybe he accidentally mishotKeyed the Lings to something else and pulled them back when he didn't mean to. But I have no idea. Now he's sending them kind of around. He's got a handful more Lings coming out, and Zergling Speed is about to finish up, so he's sending those across the map, and they haven't been really seen by the Reaper exactly, but yeah. I don't know.
This is big. I mean, this is still a lot of Lings with speed, so he should be able to do something here on the low ground. The Hellion is essential to try to pick off if you're Lambo. He's just going to go after a few SCVs and try to take a small advantage. I mean, I think this could have been much bigger, and really, if you make the first 2 Lings, I don't see the purpose of making them if you're not going to use them, right? So something must have changed in his plan throughout this game to make him not do that. The Hellion looks like he's going to survive without a problem. One more SCV attempted for its life there, but not gonna result in anything. Does get the one picks off the one that's building the CC, though, the more important one even.
Yeah, 4 workers killed is definitely not too shabby, I'll say. And it's not just that. He also disrupted mining at the natural. He picked off a handful of Marines and stuff. Would you say that was overall worth it? Because it is an investment to go for this.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it was an investment, but it wasn't a super heavy investment. And if we see, like, he's already at 38 workers to 28. So this works out really nicely for Lambo still. I do still have the lingering feeling that this could have been a little bit stronger even. Had he used the first 2 Lings earlier. But at the same time, you kind of give it away if you do that, right? Like, that you are going for this. So maybe he identified, okay, like, you're not going to be able to tell. Maybe I don't know how he would know that he was going to be able to sneak out the Lings when the Reaper was kind of like, you know, on his side of the map. But yeah, that all does end up panning out for Lambo. It does happen, and there is 4 SCVs picked off, which is pretty good at this stage.
All right, well, we'll see what Lambo can do with that. His lair is going to be on the way, and this is going to kind of be the patented time for Zerg players to just get ready to defend against everything that gets thrown at them. Medevac comes forward with a handful of these Marines and a Widowmine in the mix. Lambo does pull his drones away just in the nick of time, avoids the Widowmine from getting too many damage kills on drones, but does find behind quite a few lanes, and actually these are a little bit barren on defense now.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost worse than losing a couple of drones, because so he is going to continue to lose workers. He's not going to be happy about this Lambo, that's for sure. This was a pretty sloppy defense, and not a particularly perfectly executed or anything like that on the side of HeroMarine either. And this is a little bit of decent damage mitigation, but 12 workers have fallen regardless, and this is looking really dangerous. Drone does get microed, cannot morph the Spore. The Queen now in danger, and these links should have an easy day cleaning up, but that is also additional links that were made that are not drones. Oversaturation at the third as well. This was a terrible minute for Lambo.
Really going to be frustrating for him. Not only that, but even the medevac getting out alive. It picked up the Widowmine, even saved a handful of Marines. So HeroMarine's going to be able to add all of that to his future push that's going to come up eventually. Now, HeroMarine is a little bit supply block there at 77 to 77, but he has a couple of supply depots on the way. He's going to have that Stim getting ready with +1 also getting started on up. So I think in about a minute or so, HeroMarine's going to be able to have another kind of flood of these units to put additional pressure on.
Yeah, he's going to poke up this ramp here. Remember, there's still the medevac, and now another threat in the Raven also going to the left-hand side of the map. Lambo always has very good overlord positioning, so he's going to see this from a mile away. But will he be able to react? It's already a very chaotic game, so his mind and his actions have to be scrambled.
10 overlords on the way after that supply block. Man. That is a rough spot. I mean, 1,000 minerals and overlords, cats.
No, this is just complete chaos for Lambo, right? Like, he's trying to regroup himself. It is so difficult to come back from a game like this, just mentally and also physically, in the sense that you are going to be all over the place, right? Like, you are actually trying to scramble to, okay, I gotta send drones back to this middle line. My creep threat's not as good as usual. Gotta go back to that. Like, I gotta transfuse my queens. Doing a lot of things that you would usually not have in your routine. Because the game has gotten chaotic, and that just results in more and more mistakes piling up. So it is looking very difficult at the moment for Lambo. He is trading now even in workers. Supply is pretty bad for him at the moment as well, and the pressure has to be getting to him. This is a bad situation.
What I think Lambo needs more than anything else right now, he needs a hard shutdown on this attack coming forward. Lambo just needs to be able to smack this down, regroup himself, and then have a little bit of breathing room. He's making 5 more overlords right now, Cats. He still has 40 supplies left over to work with. I feel like he should just be making units right now, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no doubt. Yeah, I think it's just adding back to his routine, right? Like, that's probably the button that he's used to pressing when he's making this many units. But because he was under such a chaotic situation, he already had to adapt to that. So it's easy to not remember, right? And this is a good surround from Lambo coming from every which angle. He's already going to lose the hatchery, though, and the tank with beautiful focus fire onto the banelings. It's going to be a little bit too much. And HeroMarine will take a comfortable game 1 after a start that I thought was very promising from Lambo. A start that seemingly he had studied and he knew what his opponent was doing. But Ravi, that was not peak Lambo, that's for sure.
Yeah, a little unfortunate there, because we know that Lambo is definitely a player who is very strong when he's in his peak condition and everything. Like you said, he got a good start and everything, and I'm really hoping that, you know, the Lambo that we've seen grow over the years, he's going to be able to kind of take a deep breath, use that competitor mindset, that experience that he's had to just try and approach game number 2 kind of as a fresh start. Because, yeah, game number 1, it's the kind of game that honestly sometimes can kind of get into your head going into game number 2 where you weren't feeling it, and then something goes really poorly and you feel even worse about it.
Exactly, like you were saying, if he's feeling sick and whatnot, it's very easy to kind of forgive yourself, right, in that moment. But you mustn't forgive yourself. You are a gamer. You need to just be like, no, screw this, screw you, whatever sickness is dragging me down, and focus up, find a way to do it, because otherwise, I mean, your group standings are in peril, and that's the livelihood of Lambo, right? Like, we talk about it, and it is a game for most of us, and we're enjoying it. But this is what he does for a living, so he really needs to bring it together here.
All right, let's see if Lambo is going to be able to rally over here against this dominant Terran, who has definitely been playing pretty well so far today. Is spawning down in the bottom left-hand side of Data C, our red Terran player from Mouse Sports. He is HeroMarine.
And in the top right-hand side, his opponent, will he be able to regroup? It's for the Shopify Rebellion, Lambo, thy king.
Well, HeroMarine, I mean, as much as I want to say, of course, like Lambo is not necessarily playing his best. I know HeroMarine didn't have the best of starts in that last game, but I think that was going to show that Lambo's preparation was working out well.
Yep.
Not so much like that HeroMarine was really, really poorly executing anything, right? It was just Lambo did a really good job with the preparation, like you said. But I think HeroMarine, he's been showing why he's still 6-0, why he's only dropped 2 maps this entire season so far.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting thing to talk about, right? Because conceptually, you go into a game and you go in with a plan of some sort. If you're a Cirque player, a lot of the time you're looking to absorb. But Lambo actually took initiative in the last game because he studied his opponent and he knew that there is an opening. At least presumably. Of course, I don't know that he studied his opponent, but if it was random, it also worked out perfectly. And knowing Lambo, I think the chances are high that he did look into his opponent a lot on his most recent tendencies, right? Because that was perfect of an opening, at least conceptually. The execution and the follow-up, not amazing. And even then, like HeroMarine, like with his medevac drop, it was 4 Marines and a Widowmine. That is not meant to be too threatening. And the Widowmine was even loaded after 1 Marine, which means he couldn't drop it in the crack, because when you know, the first unit that you actually load into your medevac is the first unit that drops out, which is something that people don't seem to use all that much, but it is really important, right? If you're trying to drop a mine in a crack or something like that. So the drop from HeroMarine wasn't executed perfectly, in my opinion, either. The mine was actually dropped near the minerals. It was kind of exposed, right? A little bit easier to micro against, impossible to surround, or very possible to surround, rather. And Lambo had queens, and he had 5 links for 4 Marines. That should be plenty, but all 5 of them that were left got taken out by the Widowmine. So that was just the start of it, right? Like when that happens, he has to evacuate his mineral line and starts losing an extra drone and has to make additional links, a lot more than he wanted to make. And then it's just complete chaos, and that game slipped out really fast.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary of it. Now, we do have a kind of more normal looking game so far. Day to see a good macro map and everything. So we got a 3CC opening as well from HeroMarine. I do want to quickly address the fact that something we talked about before this series started, which was Lambo was specifically going to be hoping more for a 2-0 rather than something like a 2-1. Or, of course, you know, ideally not losing the series as well. But not getting the 2-0, HeroMarine winning that first map, it means, as far as I'm aware, that HeroMarine is now uncatchable for Lambo. Like there's no catching up for him and everything. So first place, not going to be on the table there for Lambo. And now I think it's actually going to be a bit of a fight for Lambo to try and just stay in the top 3. And he's going to be both hoping he can turn this series back around, but also hoping that Skillous is not going to be able to dominate his series that he's playing right now versus Hellraiser.
Yeah, now let me ask you, I'm not sure, I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot and you don't like that, but like is Skillous guaranteed to advance second if he wins 2-0 against Hellraiser now?
I think at this point he may be, just because I think he with Lambo losing that, if it was a 2-0, Skills I believe would have a higher map score. So I'm gonna put a disclaimer out there for any pro players or viewers listening that I am not the admin, I am not the final say on this, but as far as I can tell looking at things, I do believe Skillous would advance out if he gets a 2-0.
Okay, I'm gonna put production on the spot as well. I'm not sure if we have the capabilities for this, but if you guys could give us updates in our heads, you know, in our headsets, for the other match going on and maybe the implications, if that's available, that would be fantastic, as these are very important. And yeah, let's see how this game continues to transpire. Of course, it all goes out the window. I think if Lambo loses 2-0, then he will not finish second if Skillous wins at all.
Oh, Hellraiser took the first map versus Skillous.
Oh, well, that's huge for Lambo. He would love to know that right now, see? That's why
I think he's a little busy.
We have him synced up.
Yeah, I think right now Lambo's a little busy worrying about the fact that there are the Hellions and also the Banshee is coming out with Cloak approaching his side of the map. So he's going to be fully focused on making sure his defense is up to snuff right now as he gets all of his drones up and is going to be relying mostly on a handful of Lings and a couple of these Queens.
Yeah, I sure hope he is going to be fully focused. I mean, his Overlord spread is as good as it usually is. Really one of the best players in Europe, if not the best, at just keeping tabs on everything in this early game. There's Overlords everywhere at every point, so he doesn't get surprised, really. This Queen, however, gets surprised by the lack of Transfuse, as her sisters with Transfuse had not arrived yet, and they barely each have energy for one. So one Queen going down already not ideal, but not the worst if you can continue to mitigate the damage here.
Yeah, it has a Spore Crawler, so the Banshee can't get too close to that mineral line right now, but it is whittling away at the Queen count and a couple of the hit points of those Queens. Most of the Hellions have also been able to stay alive. In fact, HeroMarine hasn't actually lost a unit just yet. He's been able to find little trades, not finding tons of damage, but just little bits of damage, all basically for free so far.
Yeah, that's going to be okay for Lambo, but this Spore is a little bit off position. The Banshee can actually focus fire the drones on the gas and the ones here on the outskirts. So Lambo's going to have to micro that away, maybe reposition that Spore after the fact. Another Banshee coming into the third, another Spore that's in the center as opposed to one hex to the side, so that it might zone out the Banshee a little bit better, accounting for the normal angles. Of course, players can abuse the angles regardless, as we see HeroMarine here repositioning both of his Banshees, doing so much damage. Excellent multitasking here from Gabriel, and this is looking already pretty rough for Lambo as far as, you know, the state of the game at this point in time.
Yeah, nice damage from those Banshees. Like you said, the multitasking of just making sure both of those Banshees were constantly repositioning for any Queens or any of the Spore Crawlers that were moving around, finding additional drone damage as a couple of these drones are transferring around or just mining from that closer mineral patch. Banshee also escapes out alive, and now we have round number 2 from HeroMarine as a couple of medevacs load on up, head out across the map. And, well, Lambo, he should have Baneling speed finishing up right around the time, I think maybe a few seconds after this drop starts moving in. But that's also going to be extremely helpful if you can get some of those Banelings up. And he is actually starting a few up now.
Yeah, HeroMarine cleared some creep here earlier to make it easier for this angle of attack onto the fourth. So the creep has receded. The rest of it that was not cleared has now been scanned and cleared. And in the main, like you were mentioning, there is the 2 medevacs now running in the main. There is and they are going to kill a lot of drones here. 10 to start. Also the Spore, which is going to be the only threat for the medevacs to continue to move on forward. And yeah, I mean, HeroMarine with amazing damage here. Another, Lambo might give up really soon here, because he is not the player to usually stick out on games that you have like 5% chance of winning. And I'd say we're there already. It's less than 5% at this point. I think it's looking really rough against a player of the caliber of HeroMarine. 45 supply the difference.
Oh, medevac barely survived there. The drones getting caught over here right on the transfer. The Banelings and Lings do show up in time to salvage the situation there, but Lambo's already taken so much damage. The supply really does reflect how successful HeroMarine has been with this pressure, and that was all just pressure. This is the actual push coming forward with some speed tanks joined in, and God, this is going terribly for Lambo now.
Just absolutely horribly. I mean, this Banshee will continue to survive. No overs here on site. It's one shot away from dying, but yeah, Lambo will give up, and this was a little